to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start off tonight with a presentation from Tim Trudenbach, who's the superintendent of Big Lake, and then he's going to be followed up by John Weekly, who is with the co-op. So, Tim, I think you got to turn the microphone on.
Yeah. That worked. That is working. All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I won't take a lot of your time here this evening, but I just wanted to come here and have a conversation with you, not as a rival school 7 miles down or 8 miles down the road, but instead as a really, really valuable partnership, a partnership that we have through our special education co-op. And we have some exciting news and some exciting opportunity in Big Lake. I won't give you all the details because a lot of it, 2/3 of it, doesn't necessarily pertain. But 1/3 really does. So this has to do with a proposed ballot questions coming up this fall. We are really excited. We are bringing forward 3 questions to our community. One is a tech levy and one is an operating levy, but the one that pertains to you at Becker and to the co-op and the greater co-op is our bond referendum. We actually, and I think you can see the image that's up there. And like I always tell our community, levy for learning, bond for building. This bond, this is actually the building, and I just want to kind of orientate you so you can kind of know what we're talking about. But if you see, that actually connects, the yellow portion connects the high school with the middle school. So if you're familiar with our campus at all, that actually is going to be a multi-purpose space, much like your field house is here, similar to that. But the part I want to show you and talk about tonight actually has to do with our special education, the 15,000 square feet, which you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner there. It wraps around kind of the northeast side of the middle school. What we're proposing to our community is to increase some classroom spaces, like I said, about 15,000 square feet. And we are targeting special education. And this would actually be in addition to help support not only our students, but also at Big Lake, but also those students of the co-op, which is why I'm here tonight. Again, I'm not here to say vote this or vote that, but I am to make sure that you're informed. Because we are neighbors and we are all part of that co-op, but we also have friends and we also know people in all of these communities. So it's really important for me to just make sure that people understand and they're informed. And I know right now, John Weekly, the special education director for the co-op, is going to come up and speak to some of those specific needs. And I'm not sure what conversations you've had around special education at this table or in the greater Becker, but I can tell you that those needs are increasing. And, by law, we have to respond, and we want to do right by all of our kids. And it doesn't matter which community they live in. We want to do right by all these students. So this is an effort to really kind of increase some of those spaces and offer some really exciting programming to fit the needs of these students. So I'm going to actually turn this over to John. And then obviously, as always, please feel free to ask questions. But super excited about this opportunity, and it's as odd as it is, I kind of feel comfortable here. So but it's not odd. So, John. Oh, I do want to say this. Sorry, we do have Tanya Reisner here. She is actually the chair of the governing board for the co-op, and she is also our school board chair. Sorry about that, Tanya. I meant to introduce you right away. So she's here. So afterwards, after John speaks, if you have questions, please feel free to ask, and we're willing to answer.
Hello, Chair and member of the boards. And Aaron Jerk is also one of our cooperative governing board members. And the goal of the cooperative, I'm John Weekly, the director, is to support students across Becker, Monticello, and Big Lake that have very individualized special education needs. We have some students we have some low incident disabilities that by pooling our resources amongst the 3 communities, we can strategically build, support, and meet the needs of those students. Challenges facing the cooperative currently, we're experiencing a growth in the demand for setting 4 level of services for students, particularly students with emotional and behavioral disorders, developmental cognitive delays, autism. And we want to be able to really meet their needs in an individual manner. Currently, how we are constructed amongst the cooperative is that we have programs in many buildings, primarily in Monticello district. They're the fiscal and site host. So as we grow programs, we haven't had the opportunity to be as efficient as possible by clustering programs, and by clustering programs, having them parallel to each other, which allows us to efficiently provide supervision from administration, from nursing, from disability category areas, from service instruction. And so by the opportunity, if we were able to get it, would allow us to be maximally efficient with those setting 4 programs. Setting 4 programs, in case you're not familiar with it, are individualized education programs in which the student is out of the mainstream setting for more than 50% of the time. It's not a residential setting, but they are in a self-contained classroom, receiving individualized instruction in those areas. If question 3 is approved on November 5th, the bond would allow us to consolidate 4 programs at that location, which would allow us to have one site supervisor, would allow us to have a variety of service staff that could serve across multiple programs. Where currently we have logistical challenges. We lose a lot of allocation time just from traveling between buildings, and this would allow us to have maximum efficiency. It would also allow us to not have students that are on waiting lists. Currently within our cooperative, with space limitations, we don't have a full service continuum for students. And so we have pockets where we have, for emotional behavioral disorders, up through from elementary up through middle school. This would allow us to add a high school component to it. We're taking some steps right now through leasing a space to add a high school component for the immediate. But again, we still have the same problem where we have a program over here, and programs over here. Bringing them together helps us to be maximally efficient. In regards to, additionally, we could really get innovative on how we meet these students' needs. Our goal is not to have them removed from the regular education setting any longer than they need to. We want to get them regulated, teach them the skills that they need, and then reintegrate them back into their resident district as quickly as possible. Some students, that could be a full career that they're in those programs. Some students, it could take, a year before they learn those skills and are able to return. But what it does, it allows to stabilize the learning environment for all students by meeting the individualized needs of those students that can be increasingly dysregulated. If it isn't passed, then we would continue to look at creative options to provide services for students, try to match those programs up by placing them in a location that is close to another program so that we can maximize those resources. But it becomes increasingly difficult when our districts are growing and the space is less available. And so we would have to get extremely creative, and it would probably stunt some of our growth of programming for that full continuum from ages kindergarten through age 18 to 22. And so if this came to fruition, we would shift those programs over to the Big Lake location, and then using some of our existing space in which those programs had been, we'd be able to add additional programming to meet the needs of other students as well. So the benefits to Becker, well, first of all, I want to commend the 3 superintendents from Becker, Big Lake, and Monticello. They are extremely highly collaborative, and they're looking at ways that we can impact students in the cooperative across the 3 districts, and also students in regular education, which is really encouraging. But the benefits to Becker is that you would have an option for students that have that critical need in the area of autism, emotional behavioral disorders, and developmental cognitive disabilities to do a referral to a program that is highly innovative, that would have all the staff that are needed to support those students in one location. So thank you for any support that you've given the cooperative over the years, and I really appreciate the work that you do for all students. Thank you.
All right, we have questions for these gentlemen. So have you had communication with your community as far as, what's your feeling of perception out there in Big Lake?
Ready to go.
No, you can speak for,
Okay.
well, yeah, speak from where you are.
Yeah, we did multiple surveys. We did multiple community meeting type settings, and this has been a need for us. I mean, we the timing is it's not ideal being on a general election.
Right.
People say that it's not necessarily the ideal time, but we do have some debt dropping off, so we're always cognizant of the tax rates and whatnot. And to be honest with you, since we've introduced it, we made a really big push in late spring, right before, and of communications and whatnot. Very limited, like negative feedback, very limited, and a lot of real positive. I'm making my rounds. Last week I was at the American Legion. I'm here this week. We've got other meetings coming up throughout as well. I'll be able to kind of give you a better gauge on that. But to be honest with you, we made it through Spudfest and having conversations there, and generally speaking, positive. Nothing's ever 100%.
Right.
You always have some, but generally speaking, we're feeling very optimistic and
Good.
hope that it'll come to fruition.
It's not a large tax.
Right,
Yes, because of that debt.
good
drop down.
timing, yep.
But the other thing too is that I've also tried to stress is that, this is a need that's not going away. So whether this one's going to work or this is a journey perhaps.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll be coming back with a modified version of what we're doing. But I do know that, like I said, the first question is the tech levy, second question is operating levy. But we've identified needs through surveys and through our general experiences. And this special education need is not only one that we have, but we feel is a greater need as well and could benefit all of us.
I would say, quite often we have parents reach out to us looking for specialized programs for their students. And when we don't have a full continuum and you have a 7th or an 8th or 9th grader that's asking for specialized services and we don't have that to offer to them, then we have to either do a referral to outside of our member districts, ECO or another neighboring district, or we have to kind of piecemeal together programming, which isn't the best way to go about it. So if we are able to get this facility, then we would be very excited about being able to provide a full continuum that meets their needs as well as really innovative programming. Additionally, we have a lot of neighboring districts that often call a cooperative, looking to do referrals to our programs. And I feel much better about accepting students outside the district if I know that we have the space and capacity. And ultimately, our goal is not to refer any of our students outside of our member districts. And so I want to make sure that we have all the programming options for them.
Well, and if we refer them out, we still pay those fees. Each of our districts pay those fees. So this is actually an opportunity to house and bring in some outside referrals that actually would bring money into our 3 districts, into the co-op, which would help offset some of that cost. So,
And I know a big emphasis is, and we've talked about it, I agree that Jeremy and Eric and I really have worked working really well together. And not just about the weather either, it's about other stuff too, but no, that whole collaborative spirit and it's always about what's the benefit of membership. We have a quality co-op right now, and what are those true benefits? And I think when we can maximize facilities and structures, that we can engage in really cool programs that not only supports us, but maybe even, like you said, bring students in. There's a waiting list, and we have students that are on a waiting list. We have students that we drive out. We do in Big Lake, and I'm guessing Becker does as well. Kevin can probably get the bills, so he knows. And again, this is not about not providing that service to those students because they need that. But this is about trying to create a facility and a program of it in-house, essentially in co-op, that really benefit that, and that would be a huge benefit to membership.
Right. Any other questions?
You said it's question number 3 on the referendum.
Correct.
Are they all contingent on one another?
Question number 3 is contingent upon question number 2 because it's the operating levy. We don't want to build a structure and not be able to support it. Plus, we have additional, like we all do, have additional curriculum needs and also operating expenses. So question 3 is contingent upon question 2 passing.
Okay, thanks.
Good clarifying question. I should have said that first.
So, any other questions? All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Good luck.
Go Bulldogs.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can you say that in one
time? Yeah.
It's all right, we have it on recording.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too, thank you. All right, moving on to reports. We'll start with you, Jeremy.
Sure. The MSBA Delegate Assembly is the first Friday and Saturday in December. Takes place in Bloomington at Minneapolis South Doubletree. Each year, the Delegate Assembly, I think you guys, everyone was here last year when I talked about it, but they get together and they figure out what the platform is going to be for MSBA. They vote on different resolutions and things like that. And so some of the resolutions or ideas that I've thought of, again, along with Eric Olson from Monticello and Tim from Big Lake, they're kind of on board with most of these as well. But some of the ones that I've thought about, and then I'm just getting some feedback from you as board members, if we want to pursue those and create resolutions for those, which kind of show additional support for these types of things. But the platform I'm looking at doing all these things obviously would benefit Becker and Big Lake and Monticello and every school district, except for the 25 largest for the first one, but is long-term facility maintenance funding and equalization. So there's different calculations for the 25 largest school districts in the state for long-term facilities, and this would help equalize that. Cybersecurity funding is something that's new, something that we talked about last session. I'm also on the MASA executive committee for legislative updates as well, and the legislative, create the legislative platform for that. But cybersecurity funding was something that we talked about last time we met, for last year. But it's fairly new, but it's something that we need to try to get our hands around and stay on top of for school districts. So something that regarding cybersecurity funding for school districts. Inflation costs, this is the same one I've been at the Capitol for the last couple of years. I want to try to give it one last swing here. I get 3 strikes and I'm out, I guess, if it doesn't work, but continue to push that. They didn't pass the bonding bill this last year, so that'll be something that will be on the agenda. Mental health funding. I talked about this a month or 2 ago when we talked about staffing. One of the things that we're struggling with is paying for some of our mental health counselors and things. We had a grant that was in place when I started, and then it dropped off or ended after 5 years. The grant was for 5 years, and then we used ESSER funding to kind of backfill some of our mental health counselor positions. Well, that has gone away, and now we're starting to have to pay out of our general fund for those things. And so we either have to figure out how we're going to shift budgeting or make cuts, or see if we can get increased mental health funding. So that was why that one's on there. Food service acceptable expenditures was the one I went to the Capitol last year about. We got tables added to that. Just being able to add some more things, anything food service related, like I talked about when I went there this last year. And then compensatory funding right now is currently in place until fiscal year 26. It'd be beneficial for school districts, us included, to have that funding to continue on past that time. And that's related to some of our free and reduced, and it's also related to draw a blank here, but the automatic qualifiers on the direct certification, yeah, for students. So those are the kind of the ones that you can tell me if all yes or we don't like this one or this one, but I can help create resolutions with the help of MSBA on those if you're interested in proceeding further with those. Any thoughts, let me know. Our fall staff development, back to school staff development is finalized. We got new staff training starting August 21st and 22nd. Alice training. With that, we have a sheriff's office coming in for that training, curriculum work, PLCs. We got the required safety trainings of bloodborne pathogens and the right to know and those types of things. Training for special ed staff, which is also another thing that we're working collaboratively on, looking at even next year, having the special ed staff come in an extra day to try to get them kind of in the right position. Because our special ed staff in all 3 districts in our co-op are fairly new, or a lot of tier 1 and tier 2 teachers where they maybe didn't go to school to be special ed teachers. We do have 2 of our staff members who are getting the Grow Your Own grant, so they're able to get their degree for special ed teaching through that, so that's a benefit. But we'll talk about goal setting and lots more. Pretty jam-packed days. We also got to work in the room time factored into that as well. Just a reminder, the September board meeting is Monday, September 9th due to Labor Day. And so that's moved back a week. The November board meeting is on the agenda as well. We need to look at that date because we've got the election. We want to do it 3 to 10 days after the election when you can canvass the votes, preferably later, the 10th day if possible. That's a Friday or the Thursday night maybe. So we can canvass the votes. And now if we can't reschedule it, that's fine as well. We might just have to have a special meeting and do it 5-minute canvassing of votes, because it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do that. But we do need to figure out when we're going to do that. And last year, I don't know if you remember, but we didn't get the results until like the last minute, the official results from the county. And this year it might be a little trickier too, because
General.
what's that?
General election.
General election, and what's her name is retiring here right around now. From the county, yeah, Diane Arnold. So they have a new, I think it's auditor, is that her group?
Yeah.
They'll have a new person kind of running the show too, so it might take even longer, who knows? So that's on the agenda later, that we can hopefully come up with a date for that. And then board filing is open. We'll remain open until August 13th at 5 p.m. and then there's a $2 filing fee. We put the legal notices in the newspaper, and then it's also been advertised on social media. So if you want to come in to do that, if you're rerunning or anyone in the audience that wants to, I don't know if you guys are eligible, but
Nope.
But anyone wants to do that, that's listening or watches this later, they can do so up to August 13th at 5 o'clock, and then come in during our business hours outside of that, up to that date.
And have your $2 because it's not guaranteed.
Exact change, yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So
any questions for Jeremy?
Any thoughts on that, the resolutions piece?
Well, I think
stuff?
they're all really good. I think we just need to pick two of them.
Pick a couple of them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna do the inflation cost no matter what. I don't know
Yeah.
if we need a resolution for that or not, but they've already
Yeah.
heard my spiel for that a number of
I
times.
like the compensatory funding. Again, I think it, well, kind of speaks to their mental health funding too, like. You put funding out for a couple of years or grant money, then you get used to that position and now it's like, well, sorry. Now you're on the hook for it, or it goes away.
And if we don't, I mean, we could do a resolution on, you know, a couple, 2 or 3 of these. That doesn't mean they're not gonna be on the agenda or the platform because
Somebody
these
else,
affect a lot of different schools.
Not even like the long-term funding, right, or long-term maintenance funding, it's like, why isn't it equal for everybody? Yeah. That's a good approach. I like your food service one too, is a good, you have all this money that comes in for it, I know you wanna say limit it to 2, but it's like, that's a good one too, you have all this money that comes in, you can only spend it on. Hey,
Yeah.
why can't you spend it on tables,
It
trays?
should be anything to do with
Right.
lunch or breakfast, period.
Right.
I mean,
What you
cards,
need for
whatever,
is should
yeah.
be spent on. So.
Maybe a good result, resolution would be for Kevin and I to get together and see which of these two, they're all financial.
Yeah.
Which of these two impact us the greatest or could impact us the most? Again, they all are probably gonna end up on the platform, or at least at the delegate assembly. Whether they, you know, get on the platform or not, it's
Two biggest ones are compensatory and LTI.
outfit.
Yeah, LTFM is huge, especially for outstate.
Those are two biggest.
And what can you get enough people behind maybe to actually push that one?
And the LTFM one, what that one is those 25 different districts have no limit on what they can do. All they have to do is just put together a 10-year plan of how much they want to spend over the next 10 years. Where the rest of the state, rest of the districts have a per pupil amount that they only get to go up to.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, what's the thinking behind
Just because they have money to do it.
Originally, there was 11 districts that got this, and of course, they were the 11 biggest
Biggest, yeah.
districts. Actually worked for 2 of them, Bloomington and St. Cloud were in that, and then they added 14 more. They were kind of more, but they're just the suburb districts down in the
The
cities.
big one.
Those were the ones that got added.
In Rochester. is it?
And Rochester. Those were- But
Yeah.
they had legislation. And that's where it was.
It's funny how our legislators keep picking winners and losers in our schools. I mean, even the tax thing.
Right.
I mean, why, if it's good for one, it's good for all. So, I mean, that's a good one to go at. But if other schools are gonna bring it forward, maybe we'll do something that's more beneficial to us. So, yeah, if you guys want to meet and come up with two that you think are
Okay.
financially needed the most. So, all right, moving on to committee reports. Connie, I think you have a finance
Yep.
committee.
So the finance committee met last week on Wednesday. And we discussed the health insurance fund and how we're going to go about getting that back up in amount. And so later on, Kevin's gonna go through the health insurance rate increases, so that's what we talked about.
Are you tired of those meetings yet with the health insurance?
It's all good.
Never going away. And then the last committee report, I think, is 284 negotiations. Ryan, Pete and I. And we have actually we just met for the second time with the bus drivers. Third time, that was the third time, huh? And we're meeting with the bus drivers and pair of secretaries and custodians. Thursday. Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we're meeting with both of them on Wednesday. So hopefully we can come to an agreement. I think we're pretty close. So hopefully we can wrap it up so we can approve that next month and get them on their way. Any other committee reports I missed? All right, moving on to item 3, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
I can second.
Any questions or discussions on the motion to approve consent agenda? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item number 4. Health insurance. There we go.
Yeah, so we went through the usage and it was a per plan usage. And where it came out in the end, the decision was for the two co-pay plans and the HSA 1650 and 3300 plan would have be a 25% increase. And the 4,000, 8,000 would have a 10% increase. And it's actually they had usage of about 5%. The $20 copay had about a 20% usage. So we increased both of them 5%, and the other two actually come down from their usage, but it at least gives us about a $200,000 projection positive. Won't bring the fund out of the hole, but at least it's projecting to be a positive. So that's the rates, and you can see the rates in there. And then the dental insurance, this is the first increase we've had in probably 12 years on the dental, but that also has had a couple of years of more expenditures than revenues, so there's a 15% increase on the health insurance. Questions?
Nope, seems pretty straightforward. I will entertain a motion to accept recommendations.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further questions or discussions about the insurance?
Is they like Blue Cross Blue Shield or where these are provided? Who is the provider?
Well, we're self-insured,
Okay,
you know, so when we go out for bids, what we're really bidding for is the health insurance company's network.
Yep.
And their administration of, you know, paying the bills, then billing us, we pay them, and the stop loss insurance. So that's really what we're going out for bids for when we go. We didn't go out for a bid this year. You have to go out every 2 years. We did last year. Next year will be
okay,
the
So
year
this
we
is
have to go out and bid for.
okay,
But we're with Health Partners
yep,
right now.
okay.
Any further questions or discussions? All those in favor of the recommendations of health rates, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item number 5, November board meeting. As Jeremy said earlier, we have to either move that meeting or schedule a special meeting because we have to be within so many hours to canvass the election. So I would suggest either the Wednesday or Thursday meeting that week after elections. Just move our whole board meeting because it really is kind of one. It really is coming in for a 5-minute meeting. So if we're gonna come in, we might as well just move our whole meeting to a Wednesday or Thursday and just come in and do the whole meeting since we're all here.
And the current meeting date is November 18th because we knew the 4th was before the election.
Yeah.
Then the 11th, the next Monday is November 11th. So then we moved it to the 18th, thinking that was still in the window, I guess, of the election, and it's
Too late.
passed. Yeah, it's 3 days too late.
So you're thinking like just one day after, so like the 6th already?
No. I think we have to do the 14th or the
Oh,
15th.
okay.
The 15th is a Friday.
So you don't beat the 13th?
13th, we could try.
Get 'em by
We're supposed to have it within 3 days. but
Well,
Again, last time it wasn't even a general election and it took us
Yeah.
all 10 days. But yeah, yeah.
Do we just do the meeting on Monday, the 4th, and you just have the canvassing meeting?
have a 5-minute stand, yeah.
5-minute deal.
And
Can we-
you could set it on the 4th and then.
When I've done that too, I've done them in the morning, so you don't have to, so you go before work or whatever, 7 o'clock, and we can do it at any time. Just gotta give the notice.
I don't know about you, but I don't work at 7 o'clock.
Huh?
I'm at work at 7
I
o'clock.
think it was 6:30, I don't know. Kevin and I will be here.
Well, hold
Yeah,
It's 6, so.
that is an option, have a regular board meeting on the 4th and then schedule, and thinking about it now, it's probably a better idea to have just a special meeting for it, because what if we have an election conundrum like we've had in the past where it's days before they, yeah.
I would
With
propose
hanging
that then.
chads.
I propose it for the 4th and then maybe the 13th for the results day.
I'd be all right with that.
The others I said 13th, it probably doesn't affect us, but I mean, I'm guessing the 14th, 15th could be like state football time.
Yeah, well, it's sports, Thursdays
It's
are good
state
sports,
tour-
right?
State tournament time, that could be a date
Yeah.
that can be used. Not that that would be a for
Big
election
deal.
results, but.
Into your hunting season.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's dark already. I
I
just said it late enough, it's
I
dark.
just, you know. Just that. I like the
So-
Wednesday idea of the 13th and the 4th or something if that works.
Mhm.
So move it back to the 4th and then do a follow-up meeting on the 13th.
Fine.
That work?
You know,
Right.
motion and
We
vote
need-
on
Yeah,
that.
give him a motion and vote. You want to make a motion on that?
Yep.
Ryan, Corey, what do you do?
I'll make a motion to move our school board meeting from the 18th of November to November 4th.
I'll second that.
Yeah, the same on the 13th.
Okay, so we're gonna move our regular board meeting to November 4th, canvassing meeting on the 13th. Any further questions or discussions?
What time? 6:30.
Regular time? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries, meeting's changed, tell all your friends. Item 6, substitute teacher pay, Jeremy, want to speak to that?
Sure, you can see the sub-pay proposal on there. We've looked at just with some of the difficulty in finding daily subs. We wanted to try to figure out a way to incentivize them. Our pay would go from 165 per day to 180 per day for all subs. And then we would keep track of the subs days worked for the first year, and then anyone that works over 90 days this coming school year would move up to a tier 2, which would be 200 days. Or
$200.
$200 a day, I mean, and so that we would try to benefit the subs that are our best, our most dependable. Give them a little bit of a raise essentially for that, and they would have to maintain that. To maintain that, they would have to keep working 90 days at that rate as well. So that's part of it. And then the other part that is new is the daily rate of pay for long call substitutes. Placing them on a salary schedule in the BA step 1 lane, that first column on the salary schedule, we would keep them in there where they can get their experience, but we wouldn't give them their education. So in the past, what we've done for staff who've worked over 21 days, sub for us for over 21 days, for the same teacher consecutive, we've given them whatever their experience and schooling is, but after talking to it, we needed to try to generate a little bit more revenue. We also think that, you know, how much are they using a master's degree or extra credits when they're not necessarily creating all their lesson plans and things like that for that. So we'll give them their experience because they can certainly help us in that regard, but taking away the education piece of that. And then we have long-term subs, which are the year-long substitutes, and they just get paid what the same as any full-time teacher would get paid. Those are the biggest things for that.
Well, I think it'll help us out for a year or two. Until Big Lake can want to sell kiss on, then it's gonna change again.
That's, yeah, it is a this type of thing.
That's the world we're in right now. So I will entertain a motion to accept sub pay.
Make a motion to accept. I'll second.
Any further questions or discussions on sub pay? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. Motion carries. Brings us to item number 7, superintendent review. So part of our duty as the board is we have to give Jeremy some feedback, a review. Last year I sent out an email with goals and stuff on it. So I'll be sending an email out this week. And this year I think we're gonna do a 3-2-1. Where it's 3 things that are going well, that you've done well. 2 things need improvement, and 1 thing is just why, right?
Questions?
Why? So just kind of a different format. And then we will have a closed session at our September meeting to go over that with send me all your results. I'll put them all together and then we'll go over that in September with Jeremy. So I'll be sending an email. Any questions or
Well, I thought la-
ideas or suggestions?
Last year, I think that went really well, so.
So. All right, no further questions?
Are we meeting in August here for that, training?
St. Ben's?
Such a resource.
no,
training.
resource-
You always-
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it used to be.
Yeah, I was gonna ask after the meeting, but Angel's gonna send you a note. To have you read chapters 1 through 3, and then, 8, 10 is when I plan on leaving by door number 2. And so you can carpool with me, I'm bringing the 2 students as well, so we've got 5 board members. The 2 students, and then 3 administrators that need to catch up on it, so
That's August.
August 15th,
15th.
and it goes from 9 to 3, I believe, but that's on the calendar, but.
All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
You guys all see.